Hello, Helen. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Jane, can I just get you to pop your camera on? I can't do it for you. If you could just click the camera button. And Hannah, you've done it. Well done. I can see you. Jane, don't panic. There's something that looks like a video camera that if you just press that, it means we'll be able to see you. Yay! Tech worked. Hello, everyone. There are still many people streaming into this, which I think is no surprise as we've got F45 on this particular session, and it's a well-followed brand. But just a little bit of housekeeping, if we can. There is a chat box down in the bottom of your screen. If you could just pop a quick note in there to say that you can hear me loud and clear, and you can see the slides on the screen, that would be amazing to all those that are listening. Anybody? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I can't. There we are. Everyone waits for everyone to do it, and then suddenly I get a flurry. So brilliant. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for doing that. And just a small bit of housekeeping before we get started on this. Obviously, we are all working from home. So if there are any dogs, cats, doorbells, we'll just go with it as the day goes on, as the session goes on. We expect it to be half an hour, 45 minutes. We do try and keep it to a learning lunch. We do tend to find that we get chatting and questions come piling in. Please use that the chat box that you just used to tell me you can hear me to put your questions for Jane into there, and we will cover them at the end of the session. I am recording this session and I will share it with everybody at the end of today, so you will get a copy of it as well if you want to share it with any of your teams, or for the accountants on the call if you want to share it with any of your clients. Just to set the scene very, very briefly, each week we're actually looking at a different industry vertical and talking to those businesses within those verticals and how they're dealing with the current challenges that are being thrown at them. This week we're talking gyms, and today we are joined by the brilliant Jane from F45, who runs F45 here in Brighton. I will introduce you to her shortly, along with Hannah, who is my co-host. We do everything together, but we mainly do it because Hannah is passionate about small businesses. I'm passionate about enabling the accountants to help small businesses. So together we'll just make sure that we grill Jane appropriately. But Jane will, though, be taking us through shutdown, what it looked like for her, the first couple of weeks, and then we will be talking financials by the very nature of what we do. And of course, cash flow, I think, has been key to many decisions made over the past few weeks. We will be talking survival strategies and of course the business today, and then going forward, and you can see Q&A will be picked up at the end of the session. But let me stop talking and introduce you to my co-host. First of all, Hannah, if you may want to set the scene a little bit more about why we're doing these sessions, and then introduce Jane.
Sure. So hello, Jane, and hi everybody else who's watching. So Helen is responsible for, like she said, ensuring our accountants have got all of the skill set, the tools that they need at their disposal to help small businesses. My passion is small businesses. Background was hospitality, but this bizarre world we find ourselves in today has knocked everybody for six. And whilst every business has had to strategize and change and move faster than they ever have done beforehand, we do have to look at bouncing back and what that looks like. So last week we focused on hospitality. This week, as Helen says, we're focusing on gyms. There'll be other verticals as we go forward, including focusing on the accountants as well and helping them. But this really is about knowledge sharing, supporting your peers, learning from each other. It's nothing about us plugging any products or anything like that. This is just generally about sharing, diversification tips or things that we've tried, things that I've learned. That's what we want to get to with this, because it's massively helping other people in industries, helping your peers. So with that, Jane, would you like to introduce yourself? If you unmute, sorry. It's always what's happened to that.
I'll unmute you. I think there we are. I've unmuted you.
You've unmuted me, perfect. Hello everybody. I'm Jane from F45 Training in Brighton. Thanks very much for joining me in this lunchtime session. I say I'm the proud owner of F45 in Brighton. We bought into the F45 franchise back in the end of 2016. At that stage, there was one other operator in F45 and one about to open in the UK. Wow. So one of the earlier adopters for F45, coming into force in the UK. it's for those that don't know anything about F45, first of all, the F stands for functional, the 45 stands for 45 minutes, so a bit like your lunchtime sessions. We keep it so all the sessions are 45 minutes. Every single day is different. All the training is periodized. So it's like having personal training, but in a group setting. So it's, you know, everyone, I would love to have a personal trainer 4 or 5 days a week, but it's not always feasible. And F45 came up with this concept of basically having personal training in a group setting that made it achievable for, you know, day-to-day people to be able to interact and engage with them, you know, on a weekly, monthly basis. I mean, F45 as a franchise was founded in 2012. It's an Australian franchise. So it started in Sydney. Rob Deutsch, who was an investment banker, got made redundant from one of the investment banks he worked in, and invested his redundancy money into one gym in Sydney. And then when he came up with this concept of you know, basically every day being different, 2 personal trainers in every class, he grouped together with an old school friend who knew a lot about franchising, and they looked to seek to roll it out as a franchise. So the first gym opened in 2012, 5 franchises sold in 2013. And fast forward to now, we are in well, it feels like 2020, whatever 2020 is. So there's 1,745 franchises globally. It's
wow.
It's the fastest growing fitness franchise in the world. What's fascinating about it, and it blows my mind, is that, you know, it's now opened in India, it has opened in Iraq, Afghanistan, so countries that, you know, maybe we don't have, or what we maybe don't think we'll have as much in, you know, in common with, or like we don't understand as much about, you know, their communities. Is that this is a brand that supersedes what your nationality is, and it really comes around about, you know, first of all, exercising, obviously, but exercising within a community and the benefits that that brings to people. So for me, when I first found out about it, I've just had retrained as a personal trainer not that long before. I'm a mum of 2 kids. I'd worked in pharmaceuticals before that. And I fell in love with the idea of having really about a community and about the strength of, you know, being able to help people, but building, I guess, a network. And there was loads of things that I liked. I love fitness, I love variety, I love that type of HIIT training, but also connecting with other people and just doing things differently. And sort of, there was a smartness about what F45 did. But at the time I was just running boot camps in Hove Park, and my kids were really young. They were 3 and 1. So I had my garage at home, and I'd changed that into a little studio so I could get up first thing in the morning before the kids would get up and PT people. And I was always on the lookout for just like functional based exercises. So on Instagram, scrolling for new ideas. And, you know, as you do, I kept this F45 kept popping up, the power of social media. And then I realized I was following about 15 of them. And I was like, oh, actually, that's interesting. They're all over the world. They're in different places. There's some in America, there's some in Australia. And then I started to look into it. And I'm a eternal optimist and a big believer in synchronicity and things, you know, happening at just time. And I just Googled it and called up and spoke to the global sales director. And he sent me out a franchisee pack. And at the time, a really good friend of mine was traveling in Australia, and he messaged me just to say, have you heard of this company called F45? And on the same day, the franchisee packet came through, and he said, you know, you should really look into it because this is something that I think that you'll really, really enjoy. And then that sort of gave me a bit of a boot to go, right, okay, let's take this seriously. This is something that I always had the idea I really wanted to have my own business, but I guess with 2 such young kids, it felt, and recently retraining as a personal trainer, you know, in the 2 years before that, I was a physiotherapist before my pharmaceutical career, so it feels like a full circle. But it gave me that momentum to go, right, I'm really going to look into this, and if I don't bring it to Brighton, someone else will, and that sort of spurred my desire to get it going, I guess.
Amazing. And where is Brighton now? How many members have you got in Brighton? How many classes do you run a week?
Yeah, so in Brighton we run 8 classes a day. We're 7 days a week, so it's around 46 classes a week, 46, 49 classes a week. We're open Saturdays and Sundays as well. We have 8 personal trainers who work with us. We always have 2 trainers in every class. Myself and my sister are the full-time employees at F45. So my sister is not a personal trainer, but she runs all the studio side of things, which is amazing, and obviously a joy as well, because we actually really like each other and our best friends. That works as well. We were really starting to thrive. So we opened in 2018 in January, and so we were coming into it. This is the start of our 3rd full year. So we just really had got wind in our sails, I guess. When we first opened in Brighton, although F45 has that great name and now the reputation's building globally, in the UK, it wasn't really known of. Maybe in London it had a little bit more of a profile, but over the last 2 years, obviously there's 52 sites now in the UK, but that presence has grown massively, and that adds to it. But I think for us in Brighton, a lot of our first year was really word of mouth, people coming past, trying to engage through social media, along that line, along building the business. And I remember getting to the end of year 1 and just really feeling like, okay, year 2, we have the opportunity now, we can push on, we can thrive. I've never ran my own business before, so I was a complete novice at that.
Yeah.
Just, the confidence that comes with, the first day you open the doors, we spent 3.5 months. We spent the guts of a year finding the building to rent, and then spent 3 months in planning with Brighton Council, getting permission to change of usage to a D usage for gyms. And then after that, we had a 3-month build with builders, and it's dealing with all that and stress of that. And then the doors are ready to open. And in one way, you're almost so exhausted from the whole journey you've been on, and it's like, actually, this is the start of the work.
Starts now.
That isn't the work.
So what was this year gonna? So you had wind in your sails, coming into your 3rd year, you were doing really well then. So what was it going to look like before it hit? What was it going to look like?
So this year we were starting to put on more. So we'd started to put on more classes. I was having the dash in my head of like sail the boats to the island and then burn the boats, and you just gotta like go for it and push on. So that was our intention. More classes. We still have the opportunity to increase the number of members that we have. I mean, we're not like a huge, gym that has 3,000, 4,000 members. It is still that boutique fitness concept. So for us, we comfortably could push and had like an extra 50 to 100 members and fill up. Our mornings are busy. We were going for an extra lunchtime class, very keen workers close by coming in and getting it done at lunchtime. And then our in the evenings, we were like, okay, we can really push on here. There is a huge opportunity to still grow and to continue to grow. And it was exciting because, you had your groove, and we were like, hey, it's not easy because it's never easy, but it was fun because it was like, you knew
where you were going.
Where we were going.
And then this.
But take us through it. Yeah, were there any early indications? And of course, with you guys being part of a network as well, I mean, how does that work with the franchisee network? Are you all in a group? Are you supporting each other? Are you still actually feeling fairly alone? How does that work? And then were there any early indications, Jane?
I think that's, in one way, there's loads of things that we are an independent business. All the franchisees are independent operators. But I have to say, F45 have been absolutely fantastic throughout this because they are a global business, and for them as well, they were thriving and riding, the crest of the wave. Mark Wahlberg just had invested, and I think they were valuing them around $430 million. And
wow,
as an actual F45 business, they were just good times are rolling. And then obviously everything struck. So what was, it's not nice, but as a global business, the business is in China, and the businesses all over that eastern part of the world. So where other studios had been affected earlier than us, there was led initially F45 probably weren't as responsive. However, by the time it came to us coming to that phase of like, are we, aren't we, what's happening with the government, there've been so many studios shut down. So we closed our doors on the Friday the 20th of March. So we waited until
last minute. That's later than a lot of people did, isn't it?
Yeah, until Boris gave us the nod to say that's it, gyms are closed. So we ran our last class at 5:30 that day. Felt very, very emotional, you know. In one way, you know, we had as many of our members calling us to say, look, you know, I need to suspend my membership. I've either, you know, got a family member at home, or I'm concerned. And for me personally, you know, when I opened the business, I want the whole bit of community and making it that it's people's happy place, that they come here and they work out hard, but they have a good time, but also that they're supported. And I was really conscious of the fact that I wanted to do the right thing, most of all by our members and by our staff as well, that, you know, if people wanted to suspend or just stop their membership at that stage, that it was just a yes. You know, there was no like, oh, we'll let you shut it for like 2 weeks and we'll see. And obviously on D-Day of the 20th of March, we stayed into 1 o'clock in the morning, and me and my sister just suspended every single person's membership. So to go from, you know, from our first to our second year, we've grown 43% in our revenue, and then to overnight have zero income whatsoever. That is obviously, like, it was just hugely stressful and sad. And I'm like a real, you know, feeling person. So emotionally, I felt absolutely devastated, not because of, you know, oh, you're not bringing any money in, but just the you know, what it meant. It was just like, it's gone from this lovely crest of a wave, everyone connected and enjoying what they're doing, to being like, okay, what's going to happen? Are we going to be able to switch the lights on when this, you know, comes through? And I guess one of the biggest things for us, and like most industries, is that it's the indefiniteness of what's happening.
I think we've heard that a lot. It's that not knowing, isn't it?
Not knowing is, you know, that's what makes it more stressful. So I mean, every day I'm sort of having a little scroll. So about 2 weeks ago, I try not to watch the news too much. You know, there was chat that gyms weren't going to open until October. It would be the last hurrah. Yesterday I read an article in the Telegraph, and they'd said like hopefully early July for gyms, and they're working with some other, I think it's Active UK, and some of the larger gyms that have ruled out openings in different countries, and things like that. But the bit for us as well is that I really hope that there's some you know, differentiation between a huge gym chain, you know, where you have lots and lots of different pieces of equipment, to something that's more boutique, where, you know, we actually run classes rather than actually, you know, a huge gym. So we hope that when that comes in, that we will be able to obviously initially reopen, but socially distance and have smaller class sizes.
Jane, just before we talk about where you're going to go, because I'm going to go there, I just want to go back to a shutdown. Yes. And just the decision that you took to suspend every subscription. I mean, that's massive.
Yeah, not everybody's done that. You know,
not everybody's done that. What was the decision behind that? Did you model it financially? You know, how did you come to that conclusion, and how long are you going to keep it going for?
Yeah, so I mean, it is obviously it felt like a really, really big decision. But for me, it felt like the right thing to do. We had quite a few people come to us and say, look, I'm happy for you to keep my monthly membership rolling, which was amazing. And we just came back to them and said, look, you know what, thank you. And we really appreciate that. Everyone was in the same boat at that time. We had so many people worried about their own jobs. And their own financial situation. And, you know, I guess as a model, we aren't the cheapest proposition from a gym point of view, and I personally was just really, really conscious of that. Maybe this is my eternal optimist in me as well, but we felt it was the right thing to do, so we shut it down. The indefiniteness, obviously, huge stress on us. However, we knew that we were going to start rolling out some kind of online workouts. So I guess one of the things that in the weeks preceding that, our bank with HSBC, I have to say they were so helpful for us. So looking at, first of all, our loan, because we've taken out such a large loan to actually renovate our property and to do that. So we were able to minimize that, so that we're just paying our interest payments on that. Our rent that we're paying for the actual studio, again, we were able to go back to landlords, and we're now again only paying the interest repayments on that. We went back through every single standing order direct debit, that we had throughout the building. Anything that we were able to waive or get rid of on the back burner, HMRC payment.
Before the 20th, Jane? That was before the 20th, in the weeks up, or was it all like, right, this is the day?
Sort of like action standbys on those, I guess, few days coming up to it. My accountant as well have been super helpful too. I guess more in the days after the 20th, where we sort of had that indication of what was going ahead. But yeah, I guess like there's definitely in those days, in the bits beforehand, I think with F45 too, they'd agreed with us, we'd waiver our franchise fees that we would normally pay in as well. They started planning ahead, and like, we all had our Zoom and everything else, but they were like, okay, as a franchise, we're gonna basically buy you and pay for extra packages, so you can have your Zoom package, so you're able to have 500 people on there and things like that.
Okay.
And a lot of the systems that we use online then came back to us, like MindBody, and they've given us blocks, like payment-free blocks in our payments to their services. So in one way, we did actually feel quite grateful in the short term about where we were going on a monthly expenditure.
Yeah.
One of our biggest outgoings as well, as with a lot of businesses, is with the staffing costs. So all our staff are self-employed. I just currently at the moment, because we're still paying back the loan, I just take a minimum wage from F45. So it was, I don't really cost the business anything. We've furloughed my sister.
Okay.
So the hardest bit really is for the PTs, because they're obviously all self-employed. And so we sat then, we've had some chats with HQ the week before, and because F45, there's two, I guess, components with F45. Being in a franchise is fantastic, having that support, but also like every franchise, they're very uniform about what they want for the brand to be able to do and not be able to do. And F45 sees themselves, as a premium product. They see themselves as it's the four walls and what the community within the four walls of your studio. So they've never ever entered into any sort of online or live or any training along that lines. So again, that was still a bit of a worry, because we weren't sure what they would necessarily allow you to do. You had the capacity to do it, what you were going to be, have permission for to do. And to be fair to them, very, very quickly, they've gone at the back end of the system and made it that we can run F45 sessions on Zoom, on live, because ours it's quite a technology-based business, F45, as much as it's PT. I guess the back end of F45 is very much technology-driven. We all do the same workout on the same day, globally around the world. The kit that we use in the studio, it's all like, we use the timer TVs, we use the screens. So it completely changes what's, I guess, our brand proposition was of what we were given as a service to.
Just to explain that, it is, you do an exercise for a certain period within the 40. I didn't know, by the way, F45 stood for 45 minutes. I did not know that. I learned that today. But it's within that 45 minutes, it's time blocks, isn't it? So you've got to like do press ups for a minute or something. So it's all to do with that timing piece, isn't it?
It follows sort of the premise of, I guess, HIIT training on the cardiovascular days.
Okay.
Friday, so that true interval training. And the beauty of it is that every single day is different, every single workout's different. Each of the workouts sort of have different names, so you get a flow of, for example, I'm a bit hot and sweaty. I've just filmed for tomorrow. So tomorrow's class called Abacus. It's a pyramid. The timing intervals are the same, but the workout's different. Okay. So the members get to know, there's a familiarity. What's lovely as well is, if our members, they train with us in Brighton, they could go to India and do a workout in India, and they mightn't understand the language, but they understand, it's that class, the premise of the move. And so that again, it's that uniformity of a franchise that what you're getting. There's variances obviously between each one.
Just before, can I just hold you for a sec? Because I want to go on. I want to hear about the online classes, because I know that is where it's evolved into. And I'm actually, as Hannah, I'm really fascinated as how that's come down through the franchise, whether you can be independent, well, it has to be the same. But cash flow, clearly you've got nothing coming in the top, but you've still got, even though your franchisee license, all those sorts of things have been reduced, they're still there. You still have to pay. So how are you balancing it?
And on that, have you, both of us are obviously fascinated about this side of things, and everybody else will be, and the kind of, scenario planning, no revenue, no business is doing that, right? You've not got that one up your sleeve as your worst case starting this year, ever. And so, are you starting to now model things like, okay, well, what happens if it comes back at this, in July or versus October? Because if you bring it back to the staff point as well, if they're self-employed, how have you gone about managing them, managing that kind of the profitability piece? If you can then charge for online, are you thinking about doing that now, or are you doing that now?
That's how it's developed. I mean, I have to say, the first 2 weeks post lockdown, so what we started first of all, we had so many people, I guess, contact us around like being worried about what was going to happen, whether or not they'd be able to afford the membership and along those lines. And we just said, look, as I said, straight up, we've paused your membership for you indefinitely while this is going on, crazy or not. But anyway, that's where we got to. So the first week or two, because F45 are still sort of developing what they wanted us to do, what we started doing was we said, right, okay, we will start running just Instagram live workouts. So for free, first 2 weeks, let's just get this through. Everyone calms down a little bit, because obviously, I think for a lot of people anyway, exercise probably, it's high on a lot of people's agenda. But for some other people, depending on what your anxiety or your situation, in a situation where you're actually ill or were you caring for ill people, it maybe wasn't as high on the list. But we put out free workouts every single day. And then almost as we started, F45 developed an online live platform. So it's not the most, it's a great workout. That we have the guy who does the on-screen animations. Everyone thinks he's CGI, but he's not. He's a real person called Corey in LA. He's a really nice guy. So they devised these live workouts and put them together that the members could access for free straight away, anytime. So it was like an on-demand access. Okay. And it had all the nice graphics. It had the buzzers and the time intervals, everything that our members would be used to in the studio. So straight away, the night that we suspended everyone's membership, we then also set them up for free, this live F45 online live membership. So we wanted there to be, I guess, a continuity that, no matter what happens, you can still train with us. And we'll our offering in this time period, and obviously try and quickly get our heads together and get going. So the first week we ran the live workouts every day on Instagram. We just set everyone up with the online free live workout. But it's sort of, the live workout through F45 is great. However, it feels like you're watching a little bit of a CGI computer screen, which is fine, and that isn't what the members get from us when they come to F45. They really get community engaged experience, and then it was just like the bit for us was, okay, how do we take that, what we want it to be, that all-encompassing, nurturing, bit of a laugh as well, because obviously that's really important, but that they're still getting the same workout, and the same premise still exists, that we strength train on Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday, and we cardio train Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So obviously the cardio training is a lot easier because you can do a lot of body weight stuff, but a lot of people don't have any access to any gym equipment. What are we going to do? And it still is slick, because for me, I didn't want to put something out there that wasn't cutting the mustard. That was like, that was a bit of, it's okay, but it's not great. So we sort of thought long and hard about this, and we were like, okay, well, and then at that stage it was true lockdown, so we didn't go into the studio. I mean, I've done all the workouts at home with my travel suitcase, which was packed to go to Spain a few times, but isn't going anywhere. My rucksack, some leather carrier bags, water bottles. So we put together a really nice little document for all the members and said, look, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, I can't work out, I can't do this, I can't do that. We want to show you that you can. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. And so we sent that out first of all, and then we were like, right, let's start 8 a.m. live every morning. So we run a live workout every day, exactly as we would in the studio. We've got 2 personal trainers in the class. We send out the night before a video to give everyone what equipment that they need or things that they have to prepare. And we've got all sorts. We've got people with petrol canisters using them for doing deadlifts. People using their sofas instead of steps. So it's not perfect, but you get the most unbelievable, I mean, the workouts are just insane, and the feedback we're getting from everyone is so lovely.
Come from above, or is this yours at just a Brighton level, or has actually this been fed down to the franchise?
They've encouraged us to use Zoom and to keep connected with the community. They're still running the workouts as, I guess, more like a live workout, so it's all body weight still. We've taken the Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays, and we've ramped them up to be proper weight training workouts that, you know, and you know, I think for this period of time, the members are really enjoying it. We're really beasting them hard, so when they come back to the studio, it's not going to be as you feel like you've been on holidays. You know, sometimes you go on holidays and come back.
Yes,
and
we all know that feeling. It's a little bit like lockdown and then going back, you see.
Jane, how are you managing to fund this though then? So, you know,
so what happened, I guess, we've cut down all of our expenses as much as possible. We applied for the grant from the government. So we were eligible for that, which is fantastic. And obviously it just took the wolf away from the door in the short term.
Which grant, sorry, did you apply for?
The rates relief 25k.
So we've got the rates relief and the 25k.
Got you.
So that took a huge pressure off us straight away. I guess when we actually finished on the 20th of March, that's payday for our staff anyway. So we were able to pay all the staff for the month. We also, I guess, in the roll up to that, we'd actually probably accumulated quite a lot of revenue for people for the month ahead. So that'll be something to think about when we come back, is that we owe a lot of people a month before, you know, they're due their next payday again.
So you aren't charging at all for the online. So this is
so the online now we are charging for. So it's £2 a day for the online ones, or you can join in at £5 per session just for a one-off session. We wanted to make it that it was accessible for as many people as possible. During this time, I'm not saying that we're necessarily making any money at this time.
Are you covering costs with the trainers? Great.
And we're also able to pay our staff full, so we're not having to cut their wages. So that's been really, I mean, they're not working obviously the same number of classes that they were working before, but it feels like, you know, we've kept the community of the team, which is really important. We've got an amazing team, but also kept the community of the members as well. And that's been really gratifying. For me, at the moment, the bit that we're working on now is I'm getting super fit. I work out twice a day. So we do the live class in the morning. So me and the other trainer, we mute everyone. We take it in turns of the demos and the PT. So again, the members get that lovely experience that they feel like they're in the studio. And that's what the feedback we've had is that this is, without being in the studio, it's the closest that we could be to being in the studio. Which is amazing. But then also then in the evenings, so the night before every day, the next day, I pre-record that next day's workout and basically PT you, so it feels like you're being PT'd through that workout in a one-to-one. So we have lots of people here still getting up at 5 or 6 in the morning to do their workout. For me, it's just not feasible with my husband runs a business and 2 small children to be able to, you know, run all the classes throughout the days. And obviously because we're not charging anyone any other membership fees, we're trying to keep the number of classes and that we're running, I guess, live down to a minimum. So we're still trying to expand and grow our live offering and, you know, on-demand members. So we're doing a lot of keeping in contact with the members, a lot of phone calls, a lot of just catching up with people as well, just to say, how you doing? I'm, you know, as a business person, I feel the feeling like quite a lot. I just, you know, as much as I want my business to thrive and be successful, I also really want to nurture and look after the members as well. So there's that 2 sides of it. But we still, you know, if fingers crossed that we are open in July, then, you know, we still, it's a short period of time, but we can still continue to grow and, you know, and really increase our revenue stream through the online memberships. And obviously reducing all the other costs that we have associated with it.
I guess if we look at your membership numbers, if you looked at that as a KPI, of course you've held on to your membership numbers because people aren't paying anything. Have you forecasted that there is going to be quite a chunk that's lost when it does go back live?
Yeah, and this is the bit, I guess, you know, and I appreciate anyone's advice on this, is that I have a sensitivity as well as when we go back to the studio, for a lot of people, you know, they're not going to feel that comfortable in coming straight back in at the end of lockdown. You know, they still have fears or worries, or it's just, it's not right. So I would be really interested in other people's advice on how to, I guess, how to manage that, but also do it in a sensitive way, but also business focused, that, you know, at some stage we've obviously allowed you to waive or to pause membership for this period of time. However, there's an expectation that, you know, at some stage, maybe it's in a month or within 2 months of the go ahead, that we will reopen and rephase your membership. And it, you know, we'll look, I guess, to HQ a bit for that, and our more national colleagues in London. So F45 UK also is, you know, we've got a really nice little group of owners throughout the UK who are trying to support each other through this phase as well. So everyone's in the same boat at the minute around that reopening. So I guess I'll, you know, trying to do it sensitively, but also at the end of the day, we need to get our doors open. We need to start, you know.
Of course you do.
So I guess it's the practicalities, isn't it, that everybody's got. So it's the cleaning, it's the, you know, the equipment, it's the social distancing, but equally, you know, forecasting, I guess, it's modeling different, you know, fewer classes, maybe doing a hybrid of online and in person. You know, are those the sorts of things that you're thinking about?
Yeah, so I think what we'll actually consider is actually putting on more classes with fewer people in them. So classes sort of run around 27 to 36 people. They, again, will take whatever advice comes down from Active UK and the government on that. There was one of the last things I read was around like a 4 square meter square for each person, or whether it's 9 square meters, but we could comfortably at that have sort of between 12 people in the class, or if it's 9 to 12 people, and we maybe move from that of having, instead of having 2 trainers in every class, have 1 trainer per 9 people, put on an extended number of classes throughout the day. Also, if in the short term before the studio is allowed to open, we can look to expand into boot camps, so we can take our offering outside and to put on boot camps in different parks, if there's any space around.
The beach will be busy.
Yeah, exactly. So we can start to, you know, incorporate that as well. To be honest with you, the Zoom has worked brilliantly, you know, and for, I think especially, you know, I've got 2 kids as well. If you've got small children and you're on the Zoom, it doesn't matter if cats, dogs, I mean, we have a lot of dogs and cats and children and all sorts of things. It doesn't matter when you're still getting your workout. So for, you know, for a lot of people as well, you know, our early morning classes, they're commuters. We're right beside Brighton train station. So they'll come, they'll work out, and they get the train straight to London. So whether or not, you know, that changes the landscape of how, you know, people actually work, you know, whether or not people are going to be able to have been able to demonstrate that they can work as effectively from home, so they don't have to travel to London as often, you know, will that affect what our classes look like, and, you know, the number of people that want to come. So there's a lot of, I guess, same as everybody, there's still a lot of unknowns. For the
take any advice from, obviously because you're global, you can almost follow the reopening of the world around the world, and I guess, can you look at any of the gyms from China to Australia to New Zealand where they have reduced restrictions, where you can take advice?
Yeah, so again, they sort of follow that pathway of what, you know, is, I guess, our suggested plan as well. Outside, first of all, because no one's allowed inside at the minute, and so small groups in boot camps, and then gradually reopen the studio with that, you know, with those smaller numbers. F45's also designed its own equipment pack. So it's got this, they've, in such a short space of time, because everything that we have is F45 branded. They've got the factories ready to rock. So they've developed, it's called a Lit Kit and Lit Kit Pro. So you could order that and you can have a kettlebell, various bands, etc. So if you order that, and then they'll actually put on an online platform a whole host of different workouts that you can actually interact with and do. So for the first time ever, F45 is going to have its own online portal for business as well. So I guess for us, in Brighton, it'll be whether or not we can carry on keeping our online platform running simultaneously, or that we start promoting that and going along with the brand once the studio starts to open, and say, look, if you do want to follow the Zoom and you want to follow the online workouts, then this is the platform to do that. And F45 as well, they've looked at that and come up with a pricing plan that they'll share with us 50% of anyone that comes through as a your local studio is Brighton Central. So that's one thing that we can, I guess, promote more in the future for now. And also actually it gives people a greater scope of what F45 is, in our locality, maybe without actually ever coming and joining and doing a class. But ultimately, as the studio reopens, that might have given them the interest to come along and actually become a studio member. Which is what we really hope. We just really, 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 really want to get back and get the doors open.
Is there anything that you'd have done differently, Jane? If you look back at the last, few weeks, is there anything you'd have done differently, knowing what you know now?
I think, my sister and I were talking about that. I think, really up to that 20th of March, we were still hoping that we were going to be able to stay open for that little bit. We were like, we're going to be able to ride it out. So I think we probably would have got our Zoom proposition of how we were going to run that off the ground just straight away. So that first 2 weeks, as soon as we opened, we didn't faff around with the Instagram live. I mean, it's fine and it's great and it fit a purpose, but actually, I guess maybe that eternal optimism in me could have really thought about that and got more concrete plans laid down of exactly what that would look like. I guess that's one of the biggest things. With the staff, I feel like, we did the best that we could with, what we could offer them. We'd pay them up in full until the points where we had to shut the doors, and we've continued to pay them for any of the classes that they have taught for us. So I'm really pleased about that. Ultimately, if we can continue to expand the number of people that are signing up for the classes, I would definitely consider adding more classes, which would give the staff, another opportunity to earn some more revenue as well for them.
I mean, have you seen a boom in terms of, because I think there is a slight boom in the exercise industry on the back of this, because people have suddenly seen the value in exercising and enjoyed it for mental health, for just general getting out of the house. So have you seen your subscription numbers go up?
Yeah, and we've had lots of people come and train with us who've never trained at F45 before, or for whatever reason, they don't live locally to the studio. We have people. I mean, what's fascinating is at the minute, so every morning at 8 o'clock, we have one of our old members who's moved back to India. She trains with us. We've got members in Dubai. We've got members in New York, in New Zealand. So it really has, in one way, it's connected members
and more people. So the thought of continuing it is actually a really positive, right?
I really, really enjoy it. Like, as much as, it's about the business and all that, it's given me this lovely connected structure as well. And it's really, held the business together, and that's, you feel like that there's every single day, we've still got the goals that we want to achieve, and, we've still got the members to service and to look after, and that is continuing to grow, and that's really, I guess, I think the panic's gone a little bit now, the initial, and it's.
What about the timelines though? And it's a horrible question, but if it is October, if it is, if at worst, we were talking, David from Chin Chin in Brighton was saying last week that one of his restaurants, he's not foreseeing opening. It's a bonus if it opens before 2021 because of the social day. It just would be non-viable for him to do so because it's so small and it's countertop based, and you couldn't possibly get, have social distancing inside it. So, dreadful thought, and it's the one that makes me feel sick in my stomach, when as a business owner as well, but what that cash runway, and if it does continue, and gyms are one of the last, are you guys going to be okay? Are there other things that you can
sorry to interrupt you. One of the first bits I think is, which has been really helpful for us, is we've got our business manager through the bank, so he's basically said, we'd be eligible for one of the breakthrough loans straight away.
So the bounce back, is that, so you're considering doing bounce back? Yeah.
So that's one thing obviously that we can seek to bring in for now. At the moment, I'm just keeping a really close eye on what our revenue is looking like. The bank balance is still okay, which is obviously great. It's just, again, as I said, it's that indefiniteness. The communication, I think, is key. Just with your accountant, with the with whoever your banking personnel is, to be able to review the terms of where you are, if you've got loans, or what your big expenses and outgoings are. As I said before, you know, for us, the biggest thing for us was our staff costing. So obviously, you know, I actually prefer that that was back up and running again, because it means we've done it faster and we'd have more staff involved. But yeah, we just got to keep a really tight rein on it, and continue to try and grow where we are now with the Zoom members. And
have you advertised at all? Because what someone's actually asking, Helen asked one part of the question earlier, so just the second part of one of the questions was, have you actually advertised outside your normal member base for the online classes?
Just through Instagram and Facebook. You know, we have used sort of social media advertising companies before, and it worked really, really well. But initially, because we have such a strong membership base of previous members or members who do drop-in classes or whatever, that's sort of been our initial focus on retargeting and contacting them. So we've done a number of I guess linked sales emails. We're trying to follow it up every single person with phone calls. Obviously that's a little bit time consuming, but it brings that really nice personal approach. Again, the word of mouth thing has been great for us. You know, our Instagram is probably one of the things that we have always done really well and successfully. We've you know, had nice professional photos and stuff. That sort of took a bit of a back seat for a while there, but this last week we said that's one of our priorities again, to get that up, you know, with some of the paid posts and sponsored posts. And then again, I guess this is another benefit of the F45 Global, is that F45 HQ has really ramped up their visibility on F45 Live, and that frequently comes up, you know, with sponsored posts from.
I'm just going to ask you an accounting question, because I said that's why I was here. But you did say earlier on that your accountant has actually been very important, especially after shutdown and planning where you're going. So just before I flip to the final slide, because I know that time is ticking on, what's the relationship with the accountant? How are you working together?
To be honest with you, it's been so nice, because it's someone who's a very steady ship. He has sort of taken a lot of the stuff out of my hands that I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? So things like, you know, about furloughing staff, just making sure that I was aware, I think straight up originally, about all the different measures from a government point of view that we would be eligible for. And he basically just gave me, I guess, more of like an idiot's guide. Ring this person, do this, you know, this is what you can apply for, this is what you can actually look to, I guess, remove for a short period of time, like with your VAT repayments and HMRC repayments, and just sort of held my hand through a lot of that stuff, which, you know, I guess I have some more of the bookkeeper for the business, but he, you know, with any of those, of some of that stuff that I have never had any experience of, and I guess
of course not.
So I would say for anybody who's watching who hasn't got that advice, we've got all of that listed on our we've got a COVID-19 page. It's a great title, but yeah, it's all there. And just things like on the bounce back loan as well, you know, you can use that to restructure other debts that you've got, whereas the CBILS, the Corona Business Interruption Loan Scheme, you can't. So there's other ways that, you know, you can use this very, very cheap money, which will probably never come along again, to help if you are paying out, you know, higher loan fees elsewhere. So just something to bear in mind.
Yeah, and you know, I think we're, you know, other businesses that I know haven't been as fortunate about being able to access some of the you know, what the government grants have put together. I feel really fortunate that we've fallen into, you know, the right parameters of being able to do that. For sure, that's, you know, it has, obviously it doesn't take all the stresses away, but in the short term it's definitely taken you know, the wolf from the door, some of the short-term stresses away, and now I feel like at this period it's really up to us from I guess a sales and marketing point of view to continue to grow and to feel, which we do, we feel really confident about the proposition that we are giving to our members, that we're actually providing a brilliant service for £2 a day. And you know, it's something that's like, you know, our membership is more expensive than that, so this is a really nice way of still being able to work out, still seeing all your favorite coaches and trainers, but for you know, a small amount of money that doesn't feel I guess too overwhelming for people, and the commitment's not too overwhelming. They can sign up for, you know, a week at a time, but we have people basically, everyone's stayed on, so I think we've maybe had like one or two people drop out, but they're just running it as a weekly membership, and you know, and that's been satisfying through the system that we use to actually see that there is money coming into the business again.
Of course.
And finallys.
Yes. The and finally questions, which are often the hardest of the lot, but what has been your biggest learning over the past few weeks? Is there one?
The biggest learning of the last few weeks, one, don't panic.
Yeah.
Which is a big one. I'm a really calm person generally, but I think, yes, don't panic, and you seek out the advice of others. You know, and that's, I think, having that reassurance from the bank and from the accountants that we're working with, you know, that gives you confidence to move forward. And then lastly, just make good decisions. I think, you know, for me, I think that we could have made better decisions the week before. The week before actually shut down. I actually flew to France on the Saturday. We went on a family ski holiday, and the company, we said to them, we were like, are you sure you should be flying us out here? And on the Saturday, we did all the rubbish bits about going on holiday. We got to the airport at 3 o'clock in the morning with all the kids. And then we got to our little ski chalet, and then that night they told us that everything was shut down. So then the next day they're like, we don't know if we're going to be able to get you home.
Oh my God.
So we had all the kids and everyone there. The kids were all miserable. So we did actually get home. We had to have a repatriation flight home, and then that was just the start of that week. And you know, the whole week your head is just, everything was
spinning from that piece.
It was spinning, and I think, you know, with that in mind, I was probably a little bit of like, you know, almost in holiday mode. In one way, I'm so glad that we were back and that we weren't, that week that we weren't away, because it was getting to the stage where it was too much. You know, we'd taken all the advice from we have a few doctors that trained with us, and we were, you know, I actually felt the anxiety. I was getting to that stage of the anxiety of being open on that Friday. And I think if Boris hadn't made the call on the Friday, then we would have closed our doors that weekend anyway, because it just felt like, you know, it was the right thing to do again.
Yeah, of course.
But anything you'd recommend, your top 3 things you'd recommend anybody in your industry to do?
Yeah. I think, you know, first of all, you know, I think one thing, it's not always natural for personal trainers or for people in fitness to feel confident about going online or to, you know, seeing yourself on a screen. I think if you can, you know, really believe in what you can add value to people, and don't be afraid of selling yourself. You know, I worked in sales and marketing. I've never been afraid of selling myself. If you've got a really good offering, you can benefit so many people. So don't be afraid to go out there. You know, even if you're just newly qualified or whatever, you've got something that you can give to people, and also for you, or as your business, is that you know, people still want to engage and they still do want to buy during this time, and especially in fitness, there's the opportunity to do stuff that you might never been able to do before. So don't be afraid to sell your wares and to.
No, it's funny you say that, because we spoke to the Box yesterday, who are here in Brighton as well, and one of their biggest challenges was their trainers being brave enough to go online. It was quite a fearful thing, and I think they're far more conscious. On the other side of it, it's very good. I'm engaged with any trainer. You know, you absolutely get the vibe through. But I think for the trainers, they feed off those people in the class, and that's just gone. Isn't it? Which makes it really difficult.
It's not always natural, but I think, you know what, like, there's something about being a personal trainer that you have to be a bit Beyonce and put your Sasha Fierce on, you know. The way that you are, and just almost like reposition yourself that, you know, this is your theatre and this is your chance to shine. And I think more, you know, from the members are they've been working out on their own, going down to, you know, going out for a run or doing a press up in the back garden. They're so happy to have the people that they trust on a daily basis,
absolutely,
being in front of them, and that's such a nice thing.
And what 3 things are you going to do before you reopen on a personal or professional level?
Gonna have a holiday. No, it's not going to happen. One, like we just talked about, is I really need to, and this needs to happen in the next few weeks, is go in and look at, right, what happens if in October, if it's not until October, what are the definite numbers that we need? At the minute, we've just like built momentum and grown and thrived, but I think we need to sit down and just get real specifics. Okay, this is where we need to be, and this is what we need to do. That, and then a lot around actually just more the confidence and comfortability of the members when the studio reopens. What can we do to make sure that the studio is the safest, cleanest space for people to come back to, that the members feel confident coming in there, that, you know, we've done everything within our power to make their space where they're going to work out as safe a place to be. And I think that's probably one of the biggest concerns going forward, because, you know, I think for lots of people, they will have more raised anxiety levels about that. You know, okay, am I okay?
I know there are some questions. Hannah, you can see the question pot, not me.
So we have, someone has asked, what are your, I mean, we've probably covered it, but just as a direct question, what are your biggest 3 pain points at the moment?
One, the indefiniteness about the timescales, because it's like the same with everyone. It's just, you know, how long is this going on for? And, you know, and this is definitely for me, that I need to sit down and not just be operational, because I'm like churning out the classes every day and working on the business or in the business rather than on the business, you know. And I think so that's probably one big thing that I, you know, have to be quite strict with myself on. Then also the bit with the trainers, like I find that quite upsetting that we haven't been able to do as much as what we would like to have done with them, to be able to bring them back. But I am hoping over the coming, you know, weeks and months, if we are able to launch boot camps in the park, that we'll be able to use them more and contribute more to what they're doing. And then last pain point, just not being open. That's the biggest pain point.
Well, on the trainers, Lewis has asked, you touched upon this earlier, but as the PTs are self-employed, they've taken a real hit. Apart from the odd class here and there, what are F45 doing to make sure they survive? But it sounds like all the support is for the franchisees. The trainers are key for the franchises, and if they go out of business, the franchise will surely struggle once back to normality. Any thoughts?
No, and I completely appreciate that. To be honest with you, F45, I guess, is the franchise. They're, you know, they're looking after the franchisees who have bought into the franchise, and I guess, you know, the local businesses. It's our job, I guess, as the, you know, the employers of those individual staff and team, to be able to support them as much as possible. You know, with that, we are doing as much as we can to support them. All of our staff, you know, we're regularly engaging with them. They've gone back to one-to-one PT, and again, we've done lots of stuff with like Zooms, so that all those guys are running their classes on Zooms. So everyone is operating as an independent, but also coming back around. I've also not put, you know, some studios have, I guess, put in measures that it's very much, these are our members. That's not a problem for me. So I know lots of our trainers are training our member clients on one-to-ones and in different classes. That's absolutely fine, you know, with me, because ultimately, for especially a couple of our trainers, we're the main source of their income. We've also supported them just, again, with any learnings that have come through from our accountants and stuff like that, how to access that. They're able to tap into the support from the government for self-employed staff, and making sure that they're able to access any funding that's available for them as well. Because, you know, ultimately it's really tough times. And, you know, and I really do feel for anyone that is self-employed as to what they can do. But we've given all our staff just, you know, 200% encouragement to really, again, that whole thing about be confident, you know, get out there, sell yourself, because you have something that people need and that people want, and we want you, you know, to thrive and come back as well. We've also encouraged them on more like things, you know, with their rent and stuff like that. So looking at that side of things, saying, look, you know, why don't you approach your landlord, ask them to approach their mortgage company to see, make sure that they're getting the relief, so that they allow you this period, so that you're paying. It's just more like practical support. And lots of them have been able to do that, you know, where they're only paying the interest at their land, so their mortgage has gone from, or their rent's gone from like £1,200 to they're only paying £100 a month. So obviously that makes a huge difference and takes a big stress off. So just being a bit more of a family, really, and trying to help with that. But it's very
well answered, Jane. And then final question, which I think you covered beforehand, but how's the landlord treating you? Are they helping, protecting you guys, or just wanting their regular rent?
No, so again, that's been fantastic. We've been able to send what we put to the staff. we've been able to just pay the interest on what their mortgage is. So that's been a huge help as well. And they've done that, and they've allowed us to do that for a 6-month period.
Wow, that's
A lot of people have not had that, and
No,
I
they haven't.
paying hardball. It's so tough.
Jane, thank you so much. It's been
We are at time limit.
insightful. It's been fantastic, and definitely you sharing this, you'll absolutely be helping someone else in your industry for sure. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jane, and thanks for everyone who joined us today. We do have an individual PT who's joining us tomorrow, so if anybody wants to join that session talking about actually how you work as a self-employed PT, then please, I think it's 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, but we'll send invites out later. Jane, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for everyone listening. Enjoy the sunshine.
Thanks, lovely. Cheers. Thanks, everybody.